It drags, it's boring, watered down, and it's overrated. It's CGI era slop. Love Me Tender from season 20 isn't good, just like lots of the CGI series. I'll say it again, I love stirring the pot, so today let's expose a CGI era episode. The Brenner era, which everyone claims is nothing but a masterpiece, more like recency bias. Before you go into my comments and say don't complain, this brand is for 3-year-olds. Well, you're acting as if 3-year-olds don't deserve the same high quality brand that I grew up with, which is classic Thomas and Friends. Realize that you're a hypocrite. Whenever someone like myself calls out the garbage that Mattel spoon-fed your ass, you then pull the "this brand is for 3-year-olds" card. If this brand is for 3-year-olds, why do you get so offended in the comment section? And why do you even care? You're also implying that brands made for kids are not allowed to be critiqued, especially a brand with such legacy as Thomas and Friends. People can only critique it when it fits your opinion, I guess. Man, so many of these Thomas fans on YouTube are just fucking idiots. And before you go into the comment section all offended and copy and paste another YouTuber's opinion, like hundreds of you do, watch the video, think for yourself, and open up your mind for once. It's so sad seeing so many fans not think for themselves and just cling to another YouTuber's opinions. And you all know what YouTubers I'm referencing. Just shut the fuck up and form your own opinions. For once, their opinions are not a Thomas and Friends Bible. Anyways, this episode starts off literally reciting lines from season 6's Twin Trouble. And by the way, for all of you who hate on Twin Trouble, yet defend this episode to the death, you're just a hypocrite. This episode is factually a worse, watered down, and stupid version of Twin Trouble.
You pushed me when the signal changed. You pulled me more like.
This episode just comes off as so not creative right off the bat. Twin Trouble was a season 6 episode. This is a season 20 episode. And yet they treat Donald and Douglas the exact same. But this time it's not good. In Twin Trouble, Donald and Douglas's feud starts after they crashed into Trevor's cart, resulting in Donald being completely derailed. A serious event, an accident, which were treated very seriously in the classic series on Sodor. In this episode, their feud starts because they can't decide on which lines to clear snow from first? Talk about lazy writing. These characters have never had an abundance of spotlight roles, so you'd think these incredibly talented writers could write an interesting story, but they didn't. Not to mention, we are 3 minutes into the episode, and nothing has happened. The longer runtime format is terrible for Thomas and Friends, and you will never change my mind. The coupling breaks, and Donald leaves Douglas behind. The episode tries to make it this serious event, but it's not. First off, Douglas is not stranded. Stop it. The driver and fireman can literally walk 100 feet to the signal box and call for another engine. Characters acting like idiots in the CGI series. Nothing new here. Toby sees Douglas, okay? Douglas is easily visible, and so he offers some help. Douglas declines like a fucking idiot, and his driver and fireman leave him as well. Thomas tells Donald what happens because apparently Thomas is the only thing on screen with a brain in this episode. The episode adds in music, zooms in, and acts like Douglas is actually stranded.
They're in the snow!
Man, this episode is just laughable. Oh yes, he's so stranded, so not incredibly visible to everyone around. Oh, so intense. Yeah, no. How the fuck is he stranded? You know where he is, and you know where you left him. And if he's not still at the junction, it's because help was called and Douglas is just fine. He's right next to a fucking signal box. And why the fuck has Douglas's driver and fireman not returned with help after leaving him on board Toby? These characters are so fucking stupid. It's like as stupid as so many of the characters were in season 7. That's how bad it is. Donald shouts for Douglas, and Donald apparently has a condition where he can't move his eyes to the fucking right so he doesn't see Douglas, who is still incredibly visible and is shouting back at him.
Over here!
Really? This is an episode that we praise? This is an episode that we brag about for the Brenner era, get this garbage out of here. Man, everyone's standards are below the fucking floor when it comes to anything that Mattel has given us. It's so hilarious to see everyone defend Mattel's garbage that was spoon-fed to them to the death. The movies, so many of the CGI episodes, there's just no defense for them. They're nothing compared to seasons 1 through 5, 1 through 6, even some of season 7, even though a lot of 7 was bad. Douglas's driver and fireman are sipping cocoa, not doing anything, because fuck Douglas, right? Toby tells Donald that Douglas is literally back at the junction where he left him. Toby says, "I thought you two had fallen out." Twin Trouble came out in 2002. Why the fuck have Donald and Douglas since then been turned into a high school couple who break up every 3 days? It's not good writing, and it's wasting these characters. Twin Trouble had an actual, suspenseful event that happened. The accident, which is what caused them to argue. It's justified. There's actual risk at hand with the accidents that happened in Twin Trouble. This episode just has nothing to it. Everyone on screen just acts stupid the entire time because Douglas sitting in a siding for maybe an hour or two is just so intense, when everyone knows where exactly he is next to a signal box. It drags, it's boring, watered down, and it's overrated. It's CGI era slop. Just because the twins had a falling out in Twin Trouble and argued during the episode doesn't mean that's the only way to portray Donald and Douglas. Andrew Brenner, you're really fucked up with this one.